All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Welcome to Remote Teaching Like a Professional Streamer using OBS. My name is Mark DeArmond. A little bit about me. I am a 6th through ninth grade math teacher at Coopville Middle High School. I also oversee our accelerated math program, 8th grade advisor. I coached some math Olympiad, do some other things there. I am National Board Certified in Early Adolescent Mathematics. Let's see. I got my bachelor's degree in film and digital media production from University of Santa Cruz. Don't let that intimidate you. The technology then was so different than what we're using now. So it's not like I know way more about something like this because of my schooling. Most of this stuff hadn't even been invented yet. I'm also a doctoral student in educational technology at Boise State University. And my kind of areas of interest, I'm largely into game-based learning, mathematics education, teacher education, activity goal alignment, and standards-based grading. Like most of you, I experienced something interesting at the beginning of this school year. And I think it was about August 7th that I found out that I was now a professional streamer. My job description had changed. No longer was I a teacher. I was now a professional streamer and a teacher. I had to do all of my classes online. And like most of you, I have had zero training in online education. I've had no experience in online education. And I really wasn't given any technology for online education beyond Google Meets and Google Classroom. We didn't have something like Canvas. We didn't have something like Blackboard. Basically, if it wasn't free, we didn't have it. On a side note, we also didn't have a mathematics curriculum for most of it. So that was another limitation. However, unlike most of you, my media diet, my TV diet is very different than most people's. It pretty much consists entirely of YouTube, which I'm going to assume everybody here is pretty much familiar with, and Twitch. These two things make up the primary place where I view incoming media. Now, you may be knowledgeable about Twitch, or it may be something you know a little bit less about. Just to give you an idea, YouTube, place to upload videos. Anyone can upload videos. It's free to upload videos. Twitch is a little bit different. Twitch is primarily used as a live streaming platform. Came out in 2007, and the whole thing that was neat about it was a live streaming platform with real-time chat. So you could chat with whoever is creating the content. If you have heard things about Twitch chat, this is why. They started off just being a live streaming platform, didn't really know what they were doing, but their gaming segment really took off. People who were streaming games, and a bunch of people showed up to watch them play games online. Eventually, by 2014, Amazon decided, hey, there's things to be made here. They paid almost $1 billion for Twitch. And they purchased it, so Amazon now owns Twitch, and they seem to think it was quite valuable. In 2020, there was an average of 15 million daily viewers on Twitch. So you compare that with, a major news network or a major television network, and that is ranking pretty high up there as far as the platform as a whole. Now, it is starting to be used and has been used for things beyond just somebody streaming them playing a game. One of the things that it's being used for is professional esports tournaments and leagues, things like League of Legends esports, Overwatch, Fortnite. Those things are being used, and they're being used as kind of marketing tools for the companies that run these games. And a bunch of companies now have their own Twitch site where they broadcast tournaments and broadcast announcements that are coming up about their own about their products. It's also been used for charity events. Record event on Twitch there was an event for Amnesty International that raised almost $7 million, which is pretty impressive. It's also now being used for some professional sports, where they're actually using that to live stream professional sports as well. Final piece is it's also being used for political events. Alexandria Octavia Cortez got on there and has held a couple of events on Twitch, which had a viewership of like 800,000 total concurrent viewers across a couple of streams. Some of which was her playing games, and some of which was, her talking about politics and things like that. Another thing is that it's been used. There's a channel that got set up called Woke TV, which was basically broadcasting the police riots that were taking place over the summer. And it would just grab various people's live streams and kind of put them all up on the screen so you could see what was going on in New York, what was going on in Missouri, what was going on in Portland and Seattle, and from a bunch of different angles. And someone just kind of managed it. They weren't even they weren't making the individual videos. They were just capturing the streams there. So I just want to give you a couple pictures of kind of what this looks like, and some kind of current uses for Twitch here.
So you can build out your whole castle and then decorate it up with some rocks around the edges where, it's like you're going to eat up a ton of real estate filling it with castle. You might as well do it on battle boards, like up on stilts if you want to have them on the escarpments, whatever. That's the thing we haven't done is I haven't done a castle compatibility build yet. It's been on my to-do.
For one in here.
Yeah.
After this one.
Yeah. What else am I missing in this? Let me get my
midfield line. So if a huge clear comes out, they can make a great play on it. When they're all three members are on the same side, unless you score a goal, you're going to get punished for it. So Florence, if you want to play like that, cool. You got to score more than one goal if you want to play like that, though.
Yeah, it's a calculated risk, and I think in this case, it was a miscalculation.
We'll see what happens as we get ready for Game 2. Forsyth probably thanking their stars just a little bit, had very few and far between offensive possessions. It felt like Florence was dominating that game.
All right, so the most important thing to know for teachers about Twitch right now is that they are free. Everything you need to stream on Twitch to make the kind of videos that you just saw, the tools to do that are free. They're readily available. They don't necessarily cost you anything. And most relevant to you and me and us in this situation is that they also work on Zoom, Google Meets, Microsoft Teams, any kind of streaming, any kind of conferencing platform they'll work on as well. So my goals for this presentation, so kind of going the long way in, is first off, I want you to understand the benefits of using streaming software in your classroom. What is it what is it that this gives you, and how is this useful to you? I'm hoping that by the end you'll feel comfortable trying to use OBS in your classroom. I think you can do this. I don't think it's that hard. My wife wanted to show a friend of hers playing when she was playing a game and set it up, and now she's doing it. I want you to understand the one kind of technical piece of this is the virtual camera, which is important for when you're working with a live conference platforming. And then I want you to understand kind of how OBS is designed with scenes and sources. And the kind of note on that is I'm not going to get overwhelmed. There is a lot you can do. There is very little you need to do. I'm not familiar with every piece of OBS at this point, but I do know how to do the pieces that I need to run this for my classroom. So, most important thing about OBS is it is free and it works with any video conferencing platform. These are kind of the key pieces that are going to matter for you and me right now, because I know in my district, if it's not free, it's not an option. We don't have money we're not going to spend money for these kinds of things. And even if we are, it's going to take convincing people and training and all that kind of stuff. So what does it do? Well, it allows to show multiple windows. You can show your webcam. You'll notice that I have a webcam up here, but I can do this in a live stream as well. I can do some cool text and graphical overlays, quick transitions between scene layouts, and I never have to present my screen because my screen, that is like my camera, is my OBS screen. It's what I am showing to students. So I'm not going like, oh, let me present this. Okay, now I need to stop presenting and let me switch over here. It is what is coming out on my camera the whole way. Now, one thing, let me just show you what that looks like if we're going to swap between screens really quick here to see kind of what we can do. So what do you need to be able to stream? So what are the things you need? Number one is you need the streaming software, right? What do you need to be able to stream to your classroom? You need to download OBS. It's free from obsproject.com. So it's an easy download. It's not even a very big file. You got to do this on a computer. It will not work on a Chromebook. I don't know if they have Linux, and I'm not getting into that. You're going to need some kind of video conferencing platform that you're using for your synchronous sessions. As a note, if you are just recording things, you can still use OBS to do that. It'll actually record videos as well. So you can record them or you can live stream them. The final thing here is a second monitor. You do not need a second monitor, but I would not try this without a second monitor. And I will note that getting a second monitor is pretty cheap right now. You can get them for $100. You can also go to twoscreensforteachers.org, and people are buying them for teachers. I think there is essentially right now realizing that that this box that my screen is on, that's my classroom, and having a second monitor is like doubling, or in my case, like tripling the size of my classroom. And that makes a huge difference. And I don't understand why every classroom doesn't come with a second monitor. In my classroom, I have mine set up so that's my overhead, so I can see what's on my overhead without having to be like, oops, I just projected everyone's grades up onto the board, which I've done a few times. So a second monitor is really big. Yes, this will work without it. If you have a big, a bigger screen, some of the iMacs, things like that. Yeah, you can do it without it. You don't need it, but it does make a pretty big difference. So as far as money goes, this is the one piece that I would consider. However, in my experience as a teacher, if you don't have a second monitor, you will gain so much from having one. It is worth the $100 investment. Or, go to a flea market, go to a thrift store, go to somewhere, that has a secondhand store, go to a computer repair shop and just be like, hey, I just want to buy a cheap second monitor. They probably have them. They'll probably darn near give them away. Now, one thing you'll notice here, this is why I'm not presenting with OBS right now, is because OBS is very good with many things. It is not very good at showing someone how to use OBS. You get this infinite window effect, which is very, very distracting. So I'm actually recording this separately, and then I'm going to go ahead and show elements from OBS, which I know is weird, but of all the limitations of OBS, showing someone how to use OBS on OBS is a bad idea. So let me kind of run through really quick what's going to be on, what the screen looks like when you load up OBS. So when you open OBS, it's going to look like this. The only difference is you won't have all of the a bunch of scenes over here. These are the ones that I've created and used. But what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and create a new scene. You hit the plus button right here, and that's going to give you a new blank scene. And what you'll see here is we don't have anything on the scene. And this screen, this black area in the middle here, is what is going to be visible as your webcam when you are using OBS, when you're presenting. So the first thing, just to look across, we've got sources, and again, we've got scenes, which are the piece that that is like each camera angle, so to speak, and then the sources are basically what makes up each of those. You've got audio, and for the most part, I don't worry about audio because I'm just using a direct speaker for my classes, so I'm not worrying about the audio here. And scene transitions, when you switch between scenes, you can go, okay, we want to do a swipe or a slide. Generally, I do a fade, and I like to have it set around a second. And then over here is our buttons to start recording. The start streaming is actually if you're streaming directly to something like Twitch, not if you are streaming to your classroom. What you're going to be using for something like Google Meets or something like Zoom is you're going to be using a virtual camera. If you're on a PC, there's actually a button right here that says virtual camera. If not, you have to go up to the top to the tools section and turn on the virtual camera on a Mac. Let's talk a little bit about scenes, right? What is a scene? And so a scene represents a pre-designed picture of what you're going to see on the screen. And so if you imagine it, like, you can basically have different scenes be different cameras or different overlays, or, you know, you can have one scene that you set up with your webcam, one scene that you set up with a specific file, one scene. I have a scene set up for my document camera where I can use that. And that way I can just quickly switch between them. That's what a scene is, okay? Sources represent the pieces that you add to make up a scene. So my webcam could be on multiple different scenes as a source, right? It is a source. It is grabbing information. A web page, right, is a source. Just random text is a source. So that's adding something to what is being visible. The scene is what's going to be visible. The source is going to be the elements that you've added into that. So let's make a scene, and let's use some sources to do that really quick. So first thing, I hit add, and it's going to give me a bunch of options as far as what I can add. A couple of things that are kind of important to think about. First off, one of the big ones to start off with is I want my webcam, right? I want a input device. So I'm going to go ahead and add in my video capture device, right? And it'll give me a few different options. What I'll do is I'll create a new one, and it'll actually just then ask me, okay, what device do you want? And I've got a few other in here, but I've got it built in my FaceTime HD camera. And once I do that, hey, look, there I am, right? I'm showing up on the screen now. And I can take this and I can move it around so I can kind of guide where do I want it. If I click on it and hold down Command or Control and resize it, I can shrink the image down. So now we have a smaller image, or I can go all the way down. The warning I will give is if you do not hold down Control and you grab it, you can, oh no, this one stays the same. Some other things will actually stretch. It looks like the webcam stays pretty stable there. So I can decide, okay, I want it to be up here. And now I want to grab another, what am I going to be showing my students here? And so maybe I'm going to go window capture. I want to capture a specific window. And so I'm going to do, this is going to be Skyward. I'm not sure why I would be showing my students Skyward, but then I'm going to go down here and I'm going to pick, okay, what do I have? I have Google Chrome, Skyward Educated. So I can do any of these things, and there's a lot going on in here. But generally speaking, most of the time I'm presenting a Google Chrome window. So if I do this, I will go ahead and add a Skyward window on there, and there's my, I can take attendance with my Skyward window. You'll notice that it's flickering a little now, and that's an issue on the Mac. If you have the window behind another window, it'll do that. So generally you want to take that and make sure that it is doesn't have anything in front of or behind it, that it's on its own screen. Now, notice that the video capture, my webcam, went away. And the reason for that is the way that these are stacked right here, my Skyward is on top and my video capture device is on the bottom. So what I want to do is I want to move this up, and now my webcam is back up at the top. And again, I can move this around. I can go, okay, I actually want it a little bigger. I don't need to worry about the bottom of the page, or maybe I want to make it, so it's easy to see like that. And there we go. And now I have this set up. And maybe I want to add something else. Maybe I want to add a picture, right? Or I want to add some text. And all of those are options in here. Just to give you a really quick picture, the display capture will capture everything, right? That'll capture your whole screen. So I can grab either one of my screens here. An image will give a specific image. An image slideshow will actually rotate through images. So if you had announcements or something like that you wanted 3 or 4 to go through, they're oftentimes used for advertisers. Media sources can do like a video file. If you're just running from something like YouTube, I just use the window capture. You can actually include another scene. So you have a scene within a scene, right? Text is great, and there's a couple of different things that we can do with text. So I'm going to go scroller, and I'm going to make a scroller text, and I can type in, what do I want? And I say 2021. Hello, NCCE 2021. I can change the font, and I've got some options in here. One of the most important options is actually this read from file. You can have it where it'll pull the information from a file. So you can have a text file open and be able to edit it quickly without having to come back in here. And so I can go ahead and do this. And oh, look, I put it in a terrible color. So I want to go back and change it and be like, that didn't work. I'm going to go to properties. And I'm going to go, okay, let's see. I've got this, and my color is currently white, and that's not going to work. So I'm going to pick a new color, and we're going to go red. Make it very, let's make it a darker red. Give it some, like, maroonish qualities. All right. And notice that it has a kind of built-in gradient. I can just, actually, I kind of like the look of that, but it's probably not going to do much. What happens if I add an outline? Now it should be more visible. Okay. Hey, look. Now, right now, it's too big, right? It's kind of huge and stretching across, so I'm going to go ahead and shrink that down. And going to have to shrink it down a bit more to actually fit on. And now here's this, and I've got I've got this in here. If I want to, I can go back in, and I can add specific filters and effects onto this. And so there's a whole bunch of filters for all kinds of different things. In this case, I'm just going to add a scroll, right? And I'm going to roll. And I make my scroll, and let's give it some, let's see, horizontal. Let's go horizontal rather than vertical. And you'll notice here I probably want to add some spaces into this, so I should go back in and edit this and go, okay, let's put some spaces here between each. Maybe we get an exclamation point because we're excited. Okay, there we go. So now, go scrolling across the bottom, I've got I've got the scroller text on there. And you can use this to kind of design the scenes any way that you want. But it's really easy to add new elements. Even in the middle of presenting sometimes, I'll actually go ahead and remove elements or move them around. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I really want this to be more visible. I'll zoom in. I can also just hide a certain element and be like, okay, I need to, pick something out of my teeth. So let's hide my webcam really quick. And then I can bring it back on when I'm done, So all of these options are available, and they're pretty easy to add new elements in. And you can do this in the middle of a cast if you need to, but you can have a scene entirely set up ahead of time where you'll be able to see what's going on and what it's going to look like in this screen right here. So one thing that I just want to note is that you can actually share sources between scenes. So you can have a source that's used multiple times. So, for example, my webcam, right? My webcam is something that I want on every screen, but I don't always want it in the same place. Like if I'm just having like my talking screen, I want that to be huge. If I'm having a conversation and I'm really focused on my document camera, I still want my webcam on there, but I don't want it to be as big, right? So I can have it be different sizes and different placements, all with the same named source that I created. However, if I change the input settings of it, it will be changed on all the different scenes. So if I say, hey, that video capture device, I want to use, a DSLR camera instead, now that's going to change all of those to a DSLR camera. Or if you're presenting a certain window, right, you're presenting this window and you make a window source, if you change what window that is presenting, then it's going to change on all the different pages. The other thing just to note is that you can turn sources on and off on a specific scene, and they'll still be on in another scene if you turn it off, or off on another scene if you turn it on. So you can use that to hide, like I have my assignments and I'll hide that sometimes just so it's not distracting, or the logo, or, again, I can temporarily hide my webcam there. So some scenes to think about. What scenes do you want to create? I like to have my kind of main talking screen, right? This is where my assignments are. We could have a schedule. It's mostly my webcam. It's my face. But you could put logos. You can put lists. I sometimes have a reader up there of don't forget to turn in this project. It's due Friday. Things like that. That's like my talking screen. My main, I call it my speaking, is just what I titled that scene. I have a browser window, which, again, if I'm showing a specific web page, I want to use that. I have one set up for my document camera, and I have my document camera connected into my computer. That actually operates as a video source, and so I can use that really easily as well. I also have like a bathroom break or a be right back info message. Like if I need to like jet out, or my office hours are open and I have kids that might be dropping in, I can put that up if I need to run really quick. I do have one that's webcam only. It doesn't have any of kind of the other pretty stuff on there because sometimes that just gets in the way. But you can use this for like anything else you might want, to include. Having one for a calculator might be a good idea. Classroom pet cam, I don't know, kids like looking at that if you've got a classroom pet. Pre-class reminders. If you're trying to remind game rules, I've used it where we do like a word wall or something like that. Also, if you're like showing, you can show a window, but if you have a game, you can actually show, the game screen as well. So what sources are out there? What are kind of the big sources? I went through those briefly. Video capture device is the webcam. That's my main video capture device. My document camera actually comes in as a window where I open a program and there's a window there. So for me, I use window capture for that. I also use it for browser windows or any other programs that I want to show. Display capture, you can do, that's the whole screen. You can use that if you want to show people how to use the operating system. Otherwise, I wouldn't use display capture a lot. I'm technically using display capture to capture this right now because I can. But generally speaking, I wouldn't do that. Text is huge. So assignments, reminders, any kind of, if you want to keep track of score in a game kids are playing, your name, classroom, any information that you might have on your board, right? This is your board. So any information you might want to have up there as well. You can put your school logo or some other, your favorite college logo or whatever else up there you want. Make your name in some big stylized way, and create a cool overlay for that. And then the final thing here is color sources. If you just need a background color, you'll notice on mine that it was like that gray. That's a color source. It's just a background color. You can also use that if you're going to try to like green screen some things, that can come in as well. So, what do you need to do to get set up? So, it's not a huge process. It's not super difficult here. First thing you want to do is you download and install OBS. Go to obsproject.com, and there you go. You're going to create a couple of scenes. Not going to be too hard. You got to turn on the virtual camera. Again, for the PCs, there's a button right there that says Start Virtual Camera. And then under the Tools menu for Macs, you go up to the top and there's a Start Virtual Camera in there. Once you've done that, you've replaced in some ways your webcam with the virtual camera, but you need to tell your conferencing platform that to use that virtual camera. And so if you go into settings in Zoom or Teams or Google Meets, you're able to change your video source, and you want to change it to the OBS virtual camera. And then the final thing is, in Google Meets in particular, but otherwise, make sure students are using focus mode where they're seeing your screen completely rather than like all other 45 people in your classroom at once. And that can be really important to help clarify and make sure they're seeing everything. If your entire classroom is just one little box in the lower right hand corner, that's probably not going to be super useful for them. And it's not like when you're presenting where it automatically takes up. So you will want to tell students, make sure you're in focus mode or pin my picture or something like that. Once you've done that, they're generally pretty good and know how to do that regularly. So my couple of hot tips here. First is for assignments, you want to use that read from text file and just create like a TXT file in Notepad or something like that, and quickly copy and paste assignments from one document to another. Especially if you're altering classes, right? If you have 3 different classes and you want that to change, you can just copy and paste rather than having to go into OBS and type them out or create a whole different scene. Tip number 2, hold command and control when resizing sources so they don't stretch in weird ways. A lot of them are kind of locked to proportions, but it's still a good idea because some of them aren't, and you'll end up with like weird stretch text, things like that. Increase the scene transition time to about a second. I think it starts off really quick, but I like to have a bit of a little, it feels more natural when it takes a little bit of time. Don't overlap windows when you are using a source. Now, I believe this is just a major issue on Macs. I don't know that it is on PCs, but that flickering that we saw earlier, we don't want that. We want to avoid that as much as possible. So make sure that your source window, if you're using a specific source window, that isn't overlapping. Add logos, assignments, your name, something cool to your screen because that's really what we're trying to do is to make it engaging and in a form that kids are kind of used to seeing. You may not realize it, but your kids are watching Twitch. Most of them are going to be familiar with it. Put your webcam on every page. So you want to be visible as much as possible, pretty much all the time. And that just helps build that kind of social presence and social connection. There's a lot of research that's been done about social presence. And one of the best ways to have social presence is to have that physical presence of you there. You'll notice that for the most part, I've had a document or my webcam visible for this. Even though, do you need it? No, but now you feel like I'm a person and maybe you could ask me a question and it wouldn't be so weird. My final hot tip is accidentally leave your overlays on during staff meetings. Just kind of show off because I've been doing this all year. I've been using it all year and still like 1 out of every 3 meetings I go to, someone's like, oh, how are you doing that? What are you doing there? Now I'm just going to like send them to this and they can look at it from here. So, OBS can be used to record your lessons. You can record your lessons on here too, where you just hit that start record button and it'll actually save everything on there and you can swap between them nice and easily. And so as a recording platform, it's pretty effective as well. So for example, for the last couple of days, I was not at school, but I record, I'm on here. I'm at the conference here. But I recorded lessons using OBS and just posted those for my students to be available. The one thing you want to make sure that if you are doing that, you're using, you have audio sources that are being recorded as well. Just as a note, generally speaking, I don't deal with audio sources in OBS because all I'm using for audio is my webcam. So just so you have some idea, the issues that I've had some issues with, some struggles I've had. Sound from videos that I'm playing tends to be picked up by my microphone and not just played directly through OBS. And that's because the virtual camera doesn't also do virtual sound. It hasn't been a big problem, but it has been something to be aware of. The windows flickering when they're stacked. So if I'm showing a window and I have something else on top of it, it'll flicker a bit. That's been a problem I've struggled with. I have had a couple of issues with the resolution in Google's Meets, where like the bar that pops up on the bottom will hide like the bottom of everybody's screen if they're pinned on me, and so they might be missing what's on the very bottom of my screen, which can be problematic if I'm working on a document camera and I'm going down. So being aware of that, I've actually just kind of moved most of my stuff up and just not using the bottom of it. And then the one other issue that I've had is when I have a window source to a browser window, when I load up OBS, unless I have the exact same window, and I mean exact same, not like just happens to be Desmos, but it has to be, it has to be Desmos, this assignment, this page, the same URL. Unless it's basically the exact same page, I just have to reassign the window source to what I want to show each time. And so I just, I go into the properties of it and I select what window I want to show this time. And so these are kind of the only major issues that I've had with this. So I'm hoping at this point that you feel like this is useful. You feel like you can do it. You understand what you might need to do as far as the virtual camera goes, and you understand scenes and sources, right? Scenes and sources are kind of the primary pieces that make this all happen. So if you have any questions, here's my email, my contact. I'd be happy to field anything that may come out now that you want to ask about, how this has worked, how I've used it. I have been using this all year. I got it going in the week before school started, and I have had a number of other people that have kind of showed it and are starting to use it now as well. But I think it is a really useful tool for what we're doing here. So thank you for coming. Thank you for listening. And I look forward to your questions.